China has experienced an extraordinary growth over the last few decades and especially over the last few years. So I'd like to discuss how this impacts UK manufacturers. Now, obviously, there's massive cost and competition pressure because we are simply unable to produce things at the costs over there. Now, I don't want this video to be a rant about our politics, and it spans over many years. But as we know, UK has one of the most, if not the most expensive electricity in the world. Now, this is absolutely crazy. The whole structure as to why we pay subsidiaries to support green energy is just ridiculous. It's, in my opinion, this is just like tying your feet in a race, in a marathon. It's just something that should have never happened. The fact that we subsidize farms, like wind farms and panels, even when the weather doesn't allow them to generate electricity, I mean, this is suicidal. It's just something that should have never, ever happened. But like I said, I didn't want to rant on it, even though I did, because we have to work around it. Now, the problem is that every manufacturing process needs electricity. So if the common denominator in the form of energy, i.e. electricity, is expensive, then there's no way we can compete. So it is going to be a massive issue for UK manufacturers. Now, another big problem are the supply chains, or how the whole world connects. And you see, it is so cheap to import things from abroad, especially China, and that's the reason why people prefer outsourcing it than making it locally. So if you are to import goods from China, it will cost you probably around £1 per kilogram if you're using only part of a container, the LCL model. Whereas if you are taking a full container, then the cost is down to probably around 10, maybe 15p per kilogram. So as you can see, those costs are minimal. So it really makes China, even though it's on the other side of the world, it makes them a local competitor. Now, obviously, the other side of the coin is the time it takes for goods to reach the UK and Europe, and that's anything between 2 to 4 months. And actually, this is our opportunity. I'll go through the opportunities right at the end of the video, but this is where we have an advantage. So there was one company that I helped increase productivity, and they obviously wanted to cut costs everywhere. And it was very easy for them to make that decision to send things out to China, because when you compared like for like quotes, it made sense. However, suddenly things look dramatically different when you don't have the things that you need. And this means that your entire manufacturing process might grind to a halt only because you're lacking a single crucial component. Now, this is unacceptable, and if you've been following me for long enough, and if you haven't, then please remember to subscribe. But it is all about continuity, about flow, about maintaining steady supply of goods. That is when you have a very safe and controllable environment. And being at the mercy of a shipment that might not happen and it might be delayed by months, in my opinion, is unacceptable. So at least you should have some alternatives available locally and then pay the extra price. What this company ended up doing is literally sending it by air, which was significantly more expensive. So in other words, the savings they made initially by choosing them were diminished because of the super expensive freight costs. So luckily we've got some power on that front. Next, as we know, there's a lot of geopolitical pressure. The UK has historically been very close to the United States, and we should keep those ties. But on the other hand, we've got China, and we also, as an economy, have to benefit from the fact that we can have things made so cheaply over there. So for the politicians here, they really have to navigate through a very tight rope between the balancing our relationships with the US and then with China. And I think that the UK is doing a great job over here. We are looking after the United States or pleasing them as much as we can, but then also not writing off China. Because if you look at it strategically, if you stand back and look at it, that's the way it should be. UK is quite small. It's no longer an imperial country as it used to be. So we have to basically be friends with others, especially the superpowers of the world. Now, if we look into technology, unfortunately, we're losing the battle on this front as well. China is implementing AI systems, robotics, cobots. They are probably the leading country when it comes to Industry 4.0, where you basically don't have lights on the factory floor because you don't need them. Robots, obviously, they don't need lights as we do. Therefore, you have dark factories. For us, it's very difficult, not only because of the technology availability, but also because of employment law. So it's very difficult for existing manufacturers, the big ones, to simply lay off their workforce and replace it with a robotic setup. That takes time, and the transition period just might be too expensive and too long for this to even work. So unfortunately, it's something that we will find very difficult. However, we do have opportunities. And the first one is when time is the most important factor. If someone needs something quickly, then they will order locally. And the benefit here is that the price won't matter. If it's a critical part, like the company, they were happy to send it by air. If something breaks down, or maybe they have a massive order and they need to deliver it before even the option to import it from abroad, then that is where you step in. So the first one is time. The second area where we can win is branding. Now, Britain has a name for itself. Everything that is made in Britain is treated as special. And this is every marketeer's dream, to have a brand, and only by making things in the UK or in Britain, you already can adopt that branding. So if you haven't done so yet, look into it. It's something that will really put you on the front footing when it comes to competitiveness, because yes, other products might be cheaper, but if it's British, then there's still the perceived value of it being better. Now with this one, be careful, because China, as far as it was known until recently, it was always poor quality, but they have made big advances in this area. So it will take time, but it no longer will be sort of the connection with China and low, cheap quality. So watch out for this, but still it's a good time to really brand your product. And I guess a prime example will be Brompton Bikes. They pride themselves of being British, and it's made in Britain. Yes, they could outsource it easily, but because it's made in Britain, they can have crazy high prices for what they actually offer. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then without branding, you are unfortunately left only with a price war. And if you end up in that price competition with China, well, I don't even want to wish you good luck, because it's a no-starter. Like, just give up straight away. And the third and final area where we win against China in terms of manufacturing is when it's something very specialist, or for a specialist and secure industry. So anything that is strategically important to the UK, or something that the UK has know-how for, and probably low volume stuff, then that is when you can really shine in the UK as a manufacturer. So these were my thoughts on how China's rise is going to impact UK manufacturers. I would love to hear your comments and thoughts around it. Please let's not make it a rant on electricity costs, because like I said, it is what it is. Politicians are trying to now move away from the previous policy and more into nuclear power, which is very good. But it will take time. But let's focus on the other areas. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please remember to subscribe. I share a lot of knowledge when it comes to improving productivity and efficiencies in businesses, especially manufacturing business. And as someone who grew and then sold their business, I now help businesses grow, but also step in when there's a turnaround needed. So reach out if you need me. I also do a lot of training. So stay in touch and see you in the next video.